This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Hey everybody, it is the After Party Live on a Waterfall Wednesday, and I got some great party mail, some great suggestions that I will bring to you a little bit later in the show. Oh no, my office is freezing, says Sandy. They keep the AC cranked up way too high. In the summer, that's great, but sometimes when you're a little chilly, you have to dress in layers at work. We used to have to do that at KGO because there were some people with health issues where they functioned better in the colder climate. And so it was always really cold in the studios, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. So put a sweater on and keep working, right? Rev P, nice to see you here at the show. Hello to you, Nullifidian. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Nullifidian believes in UFOs, but they doesn't believe they have anything to do with aliens. So noted. Thank you very much. Judy says, whenever the crew from Mark's show finishes their after show meeting, that's right. That's when the show starts here. Absolutely. Talking about videos to run on the Mark Thompson show. So absolutely. Thank you for being here. Look, I love that you use this show and the start of it to note the time to take your multivitamin. You know what? Whatever I'm good for, please have at it. Thank you to everyone who contributes to the show, who keeps it rolling. That includes Wes, who contributed via PayPal. Also, Scott R., Amy S., the folks that set up the automatic monthly contributions that roll through the PayPal. You'll find that in the bottom of the show description and in the About tab here on the After Party. I wanted to talk to you about this story, which I found fascinating. Maybe you've seen this before, but I haven't. And I know that we all know that dolphins are incredible and smart, a lot smarter than we probably ever realize. But look at this. Dolphins use sponges as tools to stave off injury. When they're digging in the ocean floor for food, they can get scrapes and cuts from rocks and shells and debris. So they've realized that if they grab onto a sponge and put it to the top as they, right on their nose, like a clown nose, as they shuffle through the ocean floor trying to forage for food, that it protects them from injury. So dolphins have this really interesting relationship with sea sponges. I just find it fascinating. The story is that some Australian dolphins will use sponges to hunt fish, but they do say it's harder than it looks, and it is a skill that has been passed down from generation to generation. This sponge tool use. The sponge use, as mentioned, protects from sharp rocks, that the dolphins swim with their beaks covered, shoveling through the rubble at the bottom of sandy channels, stirring up barred sand perch for a meal. But this behavior, using the sponges that they grab onto, bite onto, passed down through generations, is trickier than you would think. They published a study, the researchers did, in the journal Royal Society Open Science. The hunting with a sponge, they say, interferes with the bottlenose dolphin's finely tuned sense of echolocation and emitting sounds and listening for echoes to navigate the echolocation process, right? It has that carrying the sponge, a muffling effect, the way a mask would if you put a mask on. So everything looks a little weird, but they still learn how to compensate even though they're using this sponge to dig up fish. They used underwater microphones to confirm sponging dolphins in Shark Bay, Australia, that the dolphins were still using echolocation clicks to guide them, even though they were using sponges as well. The researchers modeled the extent of sound wave distortion from the sponges. They say that the dolphins that have mastered this find it a very efficient way to catch fish. These wild marine sponges vary in size. Some are the size of a softball, some are the size of a cantaloupe. It's whatever you can find. But the researchers say it's kind of like hunting when you're blindfolded. You have to be really good and really well trained to make this work. Might explain why only about 5% of the dolphin population that the researchers in Shark Bay studied were doing it. About 30 dolphins total. They say it takes these dolphins years to learn this special hunting skill, and not everybody sticks with it. It's like making your kids take piano lessons, right? Some people quit, some people keep going. Not everyone sticks with it. The dolphins usually spend about 3 or 4 years with their mothers observing and learning these life skills. And the sponge hunting is only ever passed down from mother to offspring, which I thought was interesting as well. So if your mom is a good enough teacher and really makes you practice, then you're going to use the sponges and prevent injury. They are so smart and incredible creatures. Wow. All right. We have a new toy store in San Francisco at a time when it seems like toy stores are going bye-bye. Now we have a new one. These are Labubu dolls. We've talked about them on the show before. These dolls that it seems everybody wants to have a Labubu doll. I don't, but a lot of people do. There is a toy store that's gone viral because it has the Labubu connection, and it has quietly opened in the Bay Area. This toy store, valued at $34 billion. The store is called Pop Mart. And the mayor of San Francisco, Daniel Lurie, announced that this store, Pop Mart, which is a popular Chinese toy company, the purveyor of the Labubu, is opening in Union Square. Uh, the store won't be opening until the late third quarter of this year, that according to the San Francisco Chronicle. But apparently there's another opportunity to get your Labubu here in the Bay Area, because a couple of weeks ago, a Pop Mart location also opened at the Stone Ridge Shopping Center in Pleasanton. And people heard about it. The SF Gate says the Pleasanton Weekly was reporting that shoppers lined up early June 28th, before the grand opening, in the hopes of getting one of these exclusive product drops, a Labubu vinyl and Skull Panda plush. I'm telling you, more adults are getting into this stuff. The Pop Mart has been around for about 15 years now, and again, valued at $34 billion. That is more than major toy companies Mattel, Sanrio of the Hello Kitty fame, and Hasbro combined. So they're in San Francisco's Stonestown Galleria, Santa Clara's Valley Fair. Yeah, and it's mostly because of this Labubu craze that they're opening all over the place and people are wanting them. The Gen Z teens, they say, and the boomer fashion designers are into this. You hang them from your purse, I guess. I don't know. They're sold in blind boxes. So it's a mystery which one you're going to get until you unbox your Labubu. They retail in United States stores for $27.99, but then when people resell them on the, eBay or whatever market, uh, they really go for some cash. So it's the whole Labubu thing, the Labubu craze. I don't know. I think I can pass. I don't need a Labubu hanging off my purse. I have way too much in my purse already. I don't need things hanging off the side of it. To the lotto of the day. This is, you've heard people go buy a lottery ticket because a friend suggested it or a sibling suggested it. This guy bought his lottery ticket because of a dream and a gut feeling. He's from North Carolina. He said this dream and gut feeling led to his winning a $1 million prize, all because of a scratch-off lottery ticket. He's from Sanford, North Carolina. His name is Ricky. Ricky said his subconscious mind warned him that lottery luck was in his future. He said, I dreamed I would hit it big on the lottery. Don't we all, though, have that dream, Ricky? Ricky said he had a gut feeling that led him to make his dream come true Friday with a $1 million triple play ticket from the Wink Mart in Sanford. Something, he said, just told me to play today. He said his winnings will go toward investing and paying bills, and he says he is tickled to death with this. I don't know. It seems like, anytime you buy a lottery ticket, you're following a gut or you're hoping or you're somehow having some instinct to do it. Uh, Good thing it worked out for Ricky, right? We like it. Um, this is an interesting story, and I just, it's really, I don't know, kind of a personal connection. I just, I think I may have mentioned this before, talking to a school principal who once told me that from TK, now the transitional kindergarten grade, up to sixth grade, and sometimes up to eighth grade in certain schools, this principal said she has to have everything on hand from diapers to women's sanitary products. That she noticed that girls were getting their periods younger and younger and younger. And now we have this story that sugars and sweeteners might trigger early puberty in some kids. This story indicates that sugar and artificial sweeteners like aspartame, equal, sucralose, which is Splenda, and glycyrrhizin, licorice root, are all significantly associated with a higher risk of early puberty, especially if the child is genetically predisposed to it. The research was reported in San Francisco at a meeting of the Endocrine Society on Sunday. They say the more of these sweeteners that kids consume, the greater their risk of early puberty. The study, one of the first to connect modern dietary habits, specifically sweetener intake, with both genetic factors and early puberty development in a large real-world cohort. The research done by Dr. Yang Chin Chen, who's a professor of family medicine at Taipei Municipal Wanfang Hospital and Taipei Medical University in Taiwan. In previous research, Dr. Chen found certain sweeteners can directly influence hormones and gut bacteria linked to early puberty. So there's an artificial sweetener, a sulfame potassium, it's called ACE-K, and he found that it triggers the release of puberty-related hormones, and that glycerin, that's the licorice root, changes the balance of gut bacteria and influences genes involved in puberty. So it suggests, he says, that what children eat and drink, especially products with sweeteners, may have a surprising, powerful impact on their development. It's almost impossible to keep these sweeteners away from kids. I try not to have anything in my house with artificial sweeteners, diet stuff, all of that. No sodas, no Coke, no Pepsi, none of that stuff. No diet sodas. And still, I mean, how do you not allow your child to have some sugar? This new study saw researchers analyze data on more than 1,400 teens in Taiwan. 481 of the 1,400 experienced a form of early puberty called central precocious puberty. The normal puberty starts between 8 and 13 for girls and 9 and 14 for boys. The central precocious puberty happens when a child's brain releases gonadotropin releasing hormones too early, causing testes or ovaries to start generating hormones too early. The children with a precocious puberty, they say, may grow quickly at first, but stop earlier than usual, causing them to be shorter than average adults. Long term, they may be at higher risk of heart disease, certain cancers, and type 2 diabetes as well. So they did urine samples from these 1,400 teens to assess their sweetener intake, and they tested their genetic predisposition using a panel of 19 genes related to central precocious puberty. I say not only were certain sweeteners linked to early puberty, but boys and girls responded to different types of sweeteners as well. Sucralose in early puberty risk in boys, glycyrrhizin, sucralose, added sugars increased risk in girls. It showed gender differences in how sweeteners affect kids. So it's an observational study, so it can't draw direct cause and effect link, but they're looking to do, of course, more studies on this. Something to watch out for, Mama de los Goblins, especially, we're looking at what we stock in our house, what we feed our kids. I'm telling you. I think we might have talked about this story before, but I'm going to talk about it again. It's back in the news. We'll call it ship goo. They found this ship goo contains new life forms. No one knows exactly how this substance you see in that cup there, kind of tar-like black gooey substance, got onto a Great Lakes research vessel. It was oozing from the rudder shaft of a ship at the end of August of 2024 from the Great Lakes research vessel RV Blue Heron. They first spotted the substance when they took the boat to a Cleveland shipyard for propeller repairs, and no one knew what the heck it was and what to make of it. It looked like thick grease or oil. This is what happens when you have goo on a research ship. You start testing it, right? The rudder shaft wasn't supposed to be lubricated by anything other than lake water. The goop had a metallic smell. It didn't leave a sheen on the water. It didn't burn up in the blowtorch of the flame. They really put it through the tests. So they did some analysis of it. And it's really causing more questions. They say the mysterious tar-like material contained previously unidentified forms of life. A microbial ecologist at the University of Minnesota Duluth tells Popular Science, usually when you're given a cup of tar, you don't expect very much. So he handed it off to a grad student because he didn't think anything of it and said, good luck, go test that, see what you see. This grad student successfully extracts DNA from this cup of goo. He thought it still might be routine sample contamination. So the lab sent the extracted DNA for preliminary single gene sequencing, and the results came back, and they found that a lot of those sequences came back as novel. And now they say it's a whole different story. So they did a second round of sequencing, and this time they examined whole genomes inside of this goo instead of just a single key gene. And their analysis confirmed, though the goop microbes weren't especially diverse, they were unique. And they reconstructed the genomes of more than 20 microbes, comparing them to comprehensive databases of previously identified organisms. They found several novel archaea, members of a domain of single-celled prokaryotic life that are distinguished from bacteria by their cell membrane composition. One of the microbes they found represents not just a new species, but an entirely new order of archaea. They're calling it ShipGoo01. They say another oddball microbe could be a whole new bacteria phylum. If that's confirmed, they'll call it ShipGoo002. There's several of them that also might be new genus, maybe new families for sure. They say the ShipGoo creatures are anaerobic, so they prefer oxygen-free environments. Other microbes in the goo seem to feed up on oxygen, so maybe they exist in some type of mutually beneficial balance. Pretty interesting what you can get from the ship goo, and they still don't know where it came from. They're still trying to figure it out. Detective work is ongoing. The cup of goo was the only sample taken, and getting more could be impossible, they think, because the ship would have to be put in dry dock with the rudder disassembled. And unfortunately, they did a really good job of cleaning it the first time before they put it all back together. So the rest of the ship goo may be lost forever. They're still looking, though. They're still trying to figure it out. These life forms hiding in plain sight, they say. That's the story of the ship goo. I think we talked about it right after it happened, but we might not have known exactly what the analysis found. I know. I know this is a show that's supposed to lift your spirits, but I have to talk about ocean plastic. I do. There's a new study that finds there's a lot more plastic in the ocean than we previously thought. And previously, we thought there was a lot. Now we know it's even more than we thought. There's this new study that finds there are 27 million metric tons of invisible plastic particles in the North Atlantic alone. Think about that. 27 million metric tons of invisible plastic particles in the North Atlantic alone. The study published Wednesday in the journal Nature last Wednesday estimates the North Atlantic Ocean has 27 million metric tons of nanoplastic. That's plastic particles 100 times smaller than the width of a human hair. That figure is 10 times higher than previous estimates of plastic pollution of all sizes across all the world's oceans. The research represents one of the first attempts to quantify marine nanoplastic pollution. Previous efforts were limited by detection technology. But this new study suggests the mass of nanoplastics in the North Atlantic is greater than their much larger counterparts, microplastics and macroplastics. So microplastics range in width between 0.001 millimeters and 5 millimeters. It makes them up to 5 million times bigger than nanoplastics, and then macroplastics are even larger than that. But researchers at the Royal Netherlands Institute for Sea Research and Utrecht University say the findings are concerning for marine biology and human health because nanoplastics are not conducive generally for life. These findings in this study are limited to the North Atlantic, but researchers say, listen, it's likely the case that nanoplastics are widespread across other oceans as well. So they were looking at the North Atlantic, but we can extrapolate that this is going on all over the place, unfortunately. We know nanoplastics cause inflammation to living cells. We know they're bad for our health. We don't know exactly how bad yet. We do know that because of their tiny size, nanoplastics can more easily traverse biological membranes than the bigger forms of plastic. At UCSF, researchers say that they expect nanoplastics will be linked to many of the same health risks as microplastics, like reproductive issues, intestinal problems, colon and lung cancer as well. And that microplastics bioaccumulate. They travel up the food chain as larger animals eat smaller ones. And so we could see more adverse health consequences because of all of this. These nanoplastics are present in the human body at higher concentrations than microplastics. Now, let's move on to a happier story, but just note, the problem is not getting better. Nope. How about this story? We'll talk about an erotic mosaic. That'll give you a little spice. This erotic mosaic was stolen by a Nazi captain in the Second World War, and now it's being returned to Pompeii from whence it came. The Wehrmacht officer gave this relic to German citizens whose family contacted Italian heritage officials after his death. It's an erotic mosaic panel stolen from Pompeii. It depicts, as you can see here, a pair of lovers, one of them naked, the lady naked, and the fellow half naked, reclining on a what looks like a bed. They even had a bed skirt back then. Impressive. Dates between the middle of the last century BC and the first century AD. It was among the heirlooms of a deceased German citizen who received this mosaic as a gift from a Nazi captain responsible for the German military supply chain in Italy during the war. The presence of the mosaic in Germany only came to light after the relatives of the deceased contacted Italy's Carabinieri Cultural Heritage Protection Squad in Rome, trying to figure out how they could return it to Italy. So they verified the authenticity of this mosaic. They think it adorned the floor of a bedroom in a Pompeii home, and they arranged getting it back to the Italian consulate in Stuttgart. Right now, the mosaic is temporarily being kept at the Pompeii Antiquarium, at the museum that houses relics found during excavations there. And they say every looted artifact that returns is a wound that heals. So the folks in Italy say they are grateful to the protection unit for the work they're doing, for the people in contacting them. They say the wound lies not so much in the material value of the work, but in its historical value, a value severely compromised by the illicit trafficking of antiquities. We don't know the exact provenance of this mosaic, but they're doing studies and analyses to make sure that it's authentic, to reconstruct the history as best they can. So, this is not the first time mosaics from this area have been repatriated to Italy. Several cases of this. But this erotic mosaic, that's pretty interesting. And that's the thing, too. When someone steals this and keeps it in their private collection, we don't get to see it. We don't get to experience it. There it is. Astronomers are detecting the most massive black hole collision to date. That's a cool picture. When black holes collide. I know, there's naughty jokes to be made. The scientists observed a collision between two black holes, each more massive than 100 suns. Researchers say it's the largest merger of black holes ever recorded. This team of astronomers telling CNN they discovered this event when the laser I can say it again, interferometer gravitational wave observatory, or LIGO, a pair of identical instruments in Louisiana and Washington state, detected faint ripples in space-time produced by two black holes slamming into each other. Physicists call such ripples gravitational waves. And those waves were predicted by Albert Einstein in 1915 as part of his theory of relativity. He thought, though, they were too weak to ever be discovered by human technology. In 2016, LIGO detected them for the first time when black holes collided, proving Einstein right. The following year, 3 scientists received awards for their key contributions to the development of what is called now the Black Hole Telescope. Since the first detection of gravitational waves, they've picked up signs of about 300 black hole mergers in the universe. So fascinating. They say this one is exceptional among those 300 because not just because it's the most massive of collisions, but because these black holes lie in a range of masses where they weren't expected to be seen or to be produced from dying stars. In addition, these black holes are likely spinning almost as fast as physically possible. They say it prevents a real challenge to understanding the black hole formation. Bam, gravitational waves. All right, we'll move to this interesting dress. It's made of algae. And guess what? Here it is coming down the runway at Paris Fashion Week. And here's what happens when it lights up. I know, it's an algae dress, a really cool looking light up algae dress. There's a fashion designer. His name is, or her name is, Iris Van Herpen. And she worked with a bio designer, Chris Bellamy, to create a first of its kind living look. This dress is made from 125 million bioluminescent algae that emit light as it moves. It opened a couture show at Paris Fashion Week, and they had other things that were made by bioluminescent algae as well. It was cultivated by one of the designers, the bio designer. The algae grown in seawater baths with a nutrient gel over several months before being molded into a protective membrane and embedded into the dress. They say caring for the garment and for the 125 million Pyrocystis lunula it contains requires a symbiotic relationship and redefines the creation traditions entirely. The garment is cultivated rather than constructed. So the designer worked with a light artist to create a light sculpture around the dress for a first of its kind living look. It's cool. They created this collection to convey both the beauty of the ocean and the peril it's in as well. We just talked a little bit about that peril. But again, here's that dress, that living dress. I think it's really cool. Yep. All right, are you ready? I got some party mail. 2 pieces of party mail this week. One came from Yvonne, and she says, "Hi, Kim. I just happened to stumble upon this. Very interesting. I haven't followed up on more sources for verification, but Google must know," she said. "I like waterfalls, particularly on Wednesday. Well, you are in luck, Yvonne, because as you probably know, it is indeed Waterfall Wednesday." And Yvonne says uh, that she has found the Earth's largest waterfall is not the one that you would expect. And so she sends me a couple of links, and I looked them up too. And it turns out she's right. The world's largest waterfall is actually underwater. This is a pretty cool phenomenon. It is underwater. It is called the Denmark Cataract. It's located in the Denmark Strait between Greenland and Iceland, and it is the largest waterfall in the world if you base the size on downward flow. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the Denmark Cataract is about 11,500 feet high, nearly 2 miles from top to bottom. The water flow is estimated at 123 million cubic feet per second. How does that work, you may ask? If the water is falling underwater, isn't it all just water? It's different temperatures of water. So here's how it works. NOAA says the Denmark Strait is home to actually several cataracts or falls that cut deep into the sea floor. They start at about 2,000 feet under the strait's surface, and they plunge to nearly 10,000 feet at the southern tip of Greenland. The interesting thing to note is the density difference found between cold and warm water. So the southward flowing cold water from the Nordic Sea meets the warmer water that comes from the Erminger Sea. And because the cold water is more dense, it quickly sinks below the warmer water, sticking to the bottom of the sea flow. And that because it causes it to become an underwater waterfall, where the downward flow creates massive amounts of turbulence. And they say without scientific instruments, we would never even know this waterfall existed because you can't see the turbulence from the surface of the water just by looking. It's called a fascinating natural wonder, and it serves as a reminder of just how little we know about our own planet. Underwater waterfall, biggest waterfall in the world. Thanks, Yvonne. I appreciate it. More party mail. This from Walter, who says, I just found out about the wettest place on earth called Meghalaya in India. He says it's got a ton of beautiful, beautiful waterfalls, and I thought you might like to see them. Why, yes, Walter. Yes, we would like to see them. And away we go. Number one of the 10 best waterfalls in Meghalaya, India is Noka Likai Falls. Magnificent beauty. Not a lot of information given about these waterfalls, but we know it's 335 meters, and that Noka Likai translates into jump of Ka Likai. It is the highest plunge waterfall in India. That's a pretty amazing sight, I have to say. There is, it's the fourth highest in the world, they say. There's a tragic tale behind the name. It's the story of a Kasi damsel named Lakai who lived in a nearby village upstream of the waterfall. She was widowed with a young daughter. Lakai remarried in the hopes of providing a father figure for her child. She took over her dead husband's job of a porter, carrying loads of iron into another town, and spent most of her day working. What little time she could spare back home was spent showering her young daughter with attention and love. And that is why this waterfall is named as such. Noka Likai Waterfall, a really popular tourist destination in India. The next one, also in this region, Meghalaya region, is called Elephant Falls. Elephant Falls has about 100 stairs. It's not easy to get to if you have mobility issues. There are 3 levels accessed by the steps, but those that could brave it say the visit is extremely worthwhile. This place said to be very mesmerizing. Elephant Falls, it sure is pretty. Wow. The next one on the list is called Krang Surrey Falls. Let me go to that picture. Look at that blue pool. You've got 2 big and 1 little waterfall plunges coming over a cliff. It looks like a cave underneath, and then a pool of blue water where the waterfalls crash down. It's really beautiful. Krang Surrey Falls, also in this same region. They say the crystal clear water of these falls breathtaking. Clear, sparkling water that is a sight to behold. Krang Surrey Falls, also in this region. That's really beautiful. I'd like to be in that cave looking out just for a minute. Next one is called Seven Sisters Falls. The picture clearly taken from higher elevation. You can see multiple streams of water coming down this major mountain. Seven Sisters Falls is an amazing sight. They say if you're lucky with the clouds, sometimes the clouds cover this and you're not able to see it. You can see it from Eco Park, where you can see the origin of the falls, and then there are viewpoints along the way as well. It's called an amazing gift from nature. Seven Sisters Falls. All of this in the region that Walter points out. This one's called Wai Sadong Falls. This one looks so peaceful to me. From the interesting striated rocks that the waterfall comes down in levels. The hike, they say, is a bit challenging to get here. It involves steep descents and bamboo ladders, but the reward, they say, is outstanding. Outstanding. The bamboo stairs have been created, the rough steps and the bamboo ladders and steps. Human created, of course. But they say if you go to Meghalaya, this one is a must do, that it's a mesmerizing place. I don't know if I'm up for the bamboo stairs and ladders. I have to say it looks a little rickety. Let me show you. At least one person trying to get up here. Oh, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't show it to you. I will say this. It doesn't look easy. The bamboo doesn't look that stable. Maybe it is. Here, I'll show you a picture. I just saw this picture of this lady trying to get up the stairs or get down the stairs, and I don't know. I could see this looks like an accident waiting to happen, doesn't it? I mean, it's better than just sliding down the rocks, I suppose. At least you have something to hold on to. I don't know. I'm kind of glad that we get the picture of Wai Sadong instead of having to go up the ladders. The next one is called Rainbow Falls. There's a homestay where you can stay overnight near a double-decker bridge, and then you can take the hike to Rainbow Falls and dip in clean blue waterfall waters. It's a blue lagoon at the bottom. Very cool. It looks like quite a waterfall as well, and quite a place to swim at the bottom of the waterfall. Maybe worth the overnight and the stay if anybody ends up going to this area. Here's what it looks like at the pool at the bottom of this waterfall. So at the very bottom, and you can see the rainbow toward the bottom of the waterfall there in the picture. And when the water hits the pool, there you go. Pretty blue water, great place to swim. This one is pretty spectacular. This is called Mao Liang Waterfall. Mao Linong. My apologies for the mispronunciation. It's a hilly area, so the stream over which a living root bridge is made breaks into a waterfall, apparently, and it's really, really nice. I'm sorry, I think I messed up on my pictures. This one is called the Kinrem Waterfall, Kinrem, and it's just beyond the Seven Sisters waterfalls. The best time to visit, they say, is during a monsoon because there's a lot of water en route to the waterfall. So once you get to the Seven Sisters, keep on going and you'll get to Kinrem. But that's quite a powerful waterfall there. The next one, Dai Thien Falls. Look at that. It's gorgeous. Dai Thien Falls with the water coming over this edge of this cliff into an area filled with greenery and trees and rocks. It's a rocky plateau on which you can roam around and take in the views, called a cascading beauty. If there's fog around, it adds to the mysticism of the view. Often foggy and misty in this area. And those are just a few. It kind of goes on and on. This area, the waterfalls of Meghalaya, India, worth checking out. Thanks, Walter, for pointing that out. Really appreciate the party mail from Walter and the party mail from Yvonne today. Thanks, guys. I have so many stories still to get to. We'll have to do it tomorrow on Trivia Thursday here on the After Party Live. Tomorrow, David Katz will be on the Mark Thompson Show. Already so many great stories to ask him about. And we have another Nikki Maduro show recorded and ready to go. Nikki has been posting videos from New Orleans. And so if you are missing her, check out her posts on YouTube and on her Facebook page because she's having a great time and she's posting these videos. She posted one on the 4th of July. Yesterday, I saw another one from a cafe in New Orleans, so worth checking out. And I'll see you tomorrow for Trivia Thursday. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out, for being here, for the ways you support the show, whether it's with sending stories via party mail. Kim at theafterparty.live is the way to reach me there. Or whether it's contributing to the show, the crowdfunded show. The PayPal link is in the show description every day. And I just really appreciate you all for being here and hanging out. And I'll see you tomorrow on the YouTube. Until then, make it the very best day. Bye, everybody.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
Oh my gosh, Wes. I'm so sorry. Oh man. I hate that you had a little accident, and I'm glad that you're okay. Thank you for the contribution, but please worry more about you and your car. Oh man. Oh, I'm glad you're all right, my. Oh, good. I'm glad we've resolved yesterday's issue.